Hi there guys, Vino here and welcome to this Vlogmas production and welcome to my preliminary opinions of Cyberpunk 2077. So I just got done playing the first hour or so of Cyberpunk 2077. For people who don't know what Cyberpunk 2077 is, it is a very long awaited game from CD Projekt Red. The developers that brought everybody the Witcher series, primarily The Witcher 3, which has gone down and has gotten many awards and many monikers. Some people call it the best Western RPG ever to exist. And I've heard myself nothing but praise for that game. I own it, personally, on the PS4. However, I have never delved too deeply into it because it's an extremely dense game. With all of the expansion packs for the game, it can take well in excess of 200 hours to, I won't say complete everything, but even complete a big chunk of the game. So it's a very big undertaking, of which I haven't yet completely undertook that myself, but I did buy the game a number of years ago when the complete collection, whatever it's called, Game of the Year edition, whatever it's called, was like £15 or something stupid like that. I couldn't pass up buying such a dense, so many hours worth of game for such a cheap price, and then proceeded to leave it on my digital shelf gathering dust. However, the long-awaited, you could say, follow-up to that from the same developer is Cyberpunk 2077. Of course, the game was delayed a couple of times this year, maybe even from last year into this year. I can't remember quite when it was delayed from and to, but finally the game has released and is in people's hands and is finally here. And I have some opinions. First and foremost, and I have to get this out of the way, because if I don't get this out of the way, then I'm going to be basically complaining about it throughout the entirety of this video. So, my PC specs are a AMD FX 8350, which is an 8-core octa-core processor, and I got a 1050 Ti. Now, it's nowhere near the gold standard of games these days. However, it's neither is it a slouch. I played a myriad of modern games on this computer that run relatively without a hitch. I've also got 12 gig of RAM. I should probably say that as well. So, the reason why I mentioned that is obviously give my PC specs because I'm going to be talking about performance. I'm going to be talking about the game itself. The game doesn't run too well with my computer. I'm just going to say that. And I'm probably going to be buying the game on the Xbox One because it does not run well on my computer whatsoever. I've got an option. I could either upgrade my computer, which to get it up to the specs that Cyberpunk needs would take hundreds of pounds, or I could just simply buy the game on the Xbox One X. I'm going to be getting a Series X pretty soon anyway, so that may be the way of going about it. Is play it on the Xbox One X for now, and then when I get an Xbox Series X, continue playing it on that. Plus there is of course a next gen patch, whatever they're calling it, coming to that system later down the road that brings the game up to modern standards, puts the ray tracing in it and all that kind of stuff. Basically brings it up more level to the PC level of things. And I have been watching streams and gameplay of it, and it seems to be actually a bit graphically better on the Xbox One X compared to some low-end PCs, or low-end in terms of Cyberpunk's required recommendations or requirements for its specifications. I'm not impressed with the performance, if I'm being completely honest, and it has sullied my experience somewhat with the game. I've experienced lip syncing issues, I've experienced texture popping, I've experienced some extreme just asset popping is the best way I can explain it. There's a scene early in the game, so it's not too much of a spoiler, when some police officers are busting some perps, basically. And there's a part where some of the civilians are running away from what's going on, and they literally popped in halfway through their run animation. Obviously a scripted sequence, but the scripted sequence was halfway through the sequence before I saw any assets pop in. It was really bad, and I know there are a lot of patches coming out, especially in the next few days, that optimize a lot of stuff. There are console patches, there are PC patches, there are all sorts of things. There are even updates for bloody the consoles for the PS4 and the Xbox. There are console updates dedicated to this game to help it run. CD Projekt Red have promised that they'll get stability patches out there to help things out, and they are aiming to get it nice and stable. It's just going to take time to get there. Now, for reasons I may or may not explain, I wasn't necessarily playing with the day one patch. I know the day one patch supposedly fixes a hell of a lot of the issues that are with the game. With that said, my first impressions aren't brilliant, and they all come down to technical issues. Now I'm going to move into the actual game itself. I have watched four, five reviews of the game, and all of them are saying that the game does so much good world building and draws you into the game. The game's onboarding, and what I mean by onboarding, how the game starts out, brings you into the game and goes on from there, is brilliant. I started out with the core background, and it was brilliant. I loved every minute of it. Still loving every minute of it. However, the technical problems are marring my experience somewhat. The game is very lavish, colourful. It really does draw you into the world. And for the first time in a long time, I want to discover many different aspects about this game and see where it goes and where it doesn't go, all that kind of stuff. The character creation tools it gives you are very verbose, would be a good way of putting it. The voice acting is spot on. The game really does bring you into the Cyberpunk universe. If you don't know, by the way, guys, Cyberpunk is actually a tabletop RPG developed long ago, that this game takes place in that universe in the year 2077. So there's a lot of lore for them to draw from. And just there's so many different layers of how this world works, but I just want to investigate and wonder how this works, how that works, why this is a thing, why that's a thing. There are some satirical elements in the game. There are some very... very life and death things in the game. The game is from only an hour in, maybe a couple of hours in. The game it definitely gives you a good start. One thing I will say is from, kind of a ramped up beginning, it does dip quite quickly into more and settles into more of a low hum. But then sometimes you need the lows to appreciate the highs. I'm enjoying the game itself, but the technical problems are getting in the way. But hopefully, with patches and with performance enhancing things, console patches, game patches, optimizations to things, the game will run a lot better and perform a lot better. But I am enjoying it so far, and I'm going to keep you guys updated with how far I get with the game and what I enjoy with the game. We are fast approaching a weekend, which I've got plenty of time on my hands during that weekend to check out some more of the game. Anyway, guys, hopefully you've enjoyed my preliminary feelings on Cyberpunk 2077. And until next time, please take care. And as always, enjoy the rest of your day. Ta-ra.